I'm going to go over this old FRQ that has the Thicksburg underemployment. So I'm sorry I got the same weird shadow on my paper. There's just nothing I can do about that. But so here we go. Maybe I shouldn't have said it. Maybe nobody would have noticed it if I didn't say it. But maybe now that you can see it, it just makes you as crazy. It's making me, but who knows? For those of us who do not have OCD, but some OCD qualities, that shadow ain't cutting it. Anyway, but yet here we are. Okay, so this one, the economic, basically the underemployment rate is 17.6% in America in 2013 summer. And the mayor of Thicksburg is going to show how much better his city is than everybody else by showing that it's less than that. Kind of like I like explaining how we're better than everybody else is at AP Stats. This mayor is thinking that for his city. So I can appreciate the idea because I have the same thoughts with my groups. Anyway, all right, so here we go. So it says that, do we have convincing evidence that it's lower? And they had a sample of 45 out of 300, which is 15%, by the way, which is less than 17.6. And it's a good size sample. Is it enough? Is it enough? So P is the true population proportion of Thicksburg residents that are underemployed in summer of 2013. The null is going to be 0.176. That's got to be the cutoff. We're trying to show that it's less than that, so the null is going to be that it's equal to that. And then we're going to set the significance level at 5%. One sample Z test. I guess we'll do this. You know what? I got a little bit of a mess here, so just ignore that for now. All right, so random sample collected. We're going to assume there's at least, and hey, how about that? I actually remembered to write at least instead of more than. Hooray, Mr. Hughes. We have at least 3,000 residents in Thicksburg. And then here, this is where you got to be careful. On the Chapter 9 test, the large counts for a proportion problem is expected counts. So you have to take that P naught or mu naught, if it was a means problem, and you have to multiply it times, I'm sorry, not if it's a means problem. Sorry. That's just going to be greater than 30 or the box plot. Apologize. But for the expected counts for proportions test. So 1.76 times 300, and then we get those numbers. Do not round those numbers. Do not round those numbers. Put them in as decimals. All right. And then we got some button pushing to do here. So I'm going to go stat test. And then number 2. And then I picked the stat side of things this time. 0.176. I had 45 out of, I'm sorry, this is not stats. See, okay, actually, I'm going to take an opportunity. I accidentally pushed the wrong one. Maybe I didn't know. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe whatever, okay? But here's the deal. If you pick the wrong one, it's going to ask you for stuff you don't have. X bar, I ain't got no X bar. So I picked the wrong one. So I'll just quit out of that one and go back to stat test. And this time I'll pick the right one. How about that? And it's even went ahead and transferred those answers for me, which is nice. I do need to change this to less than. The last one we did greater than, so it kind of keeps that the same. So we got the P naught is 0.176, 45 successes out of 300 trials. And I'm trying to show that it's less than the P naught of 0.176. And there's my answers. So this time the p-value was not low enough. So I'll come back to the formula here. So since the p-value of 0.118 is greater than alpha, we failed to reject. There is no convincing evidence that the underemployment rate is better in Thicksburg than it is in the rest of America. In summer 2013 would be better for sure. Anyway, so there's my t-value, there's p-value. Just real quick for the equation, that equation is wrong. So we're just going to put our thumb over that one and never mind about that equation. Good Lord. Did not have the best answer key unit of the year here. Interpret the p-value. This will be on the test. And actually, it's on the proportions write-up. It's on the proportions write-up just like this one is. So if in fact the null is true, but you have to say the null is true in all its horrible contexts. So if in fact blank, and I'll come back to that. So if in fact the null is true. The probability that we got our sample or one that's more extreme, smaller in this case, is equal to 0.118. No, not is equal to. Oh, this is no good. This is no good. I got no erasers. Oh, yes, I do. Found one. So the probability that we got our sample or one that is more. Oh no, it is 0.118. So if in fact it really is true that the Thicksburg residents' underemployment rate is the same as the rest of the United States, the probability that we would have got 45 out of 30, or one that's even further away from 17%, which would be less, but I like to say more extreme, so I don't have to worry about is it less or more, I just say more extreme, is what the p-value. That's what the p-value is. That's why a small p-value gives us the proper statistical evidence, because if there's less than a 5% chance that we would get those results, if in fact what is assumed to be true is true, then I have evidence that it ain't true. All right, on the back. This first one, this is just a weird question. They do this once in a while on the AP FRQ, the exam. They only ask you to do the state step. So they might say, define the parameter of interest. And you're like, what the heck does that mean? That's the state step. Define the parameter. It's called the parameter of interest, but the parameter. So the true population mean life or battery life or lifetime of never ready batteries. And they're trying to show that if it's less than 7, they pitch the batteries. So that's what we're trying to show. So the null is going to be equal. They don't ask for the significance level. But as you can see, and probably most of you would have done the same thing, you'd have just said, hey, that's the state step, and spit out the state step. Okay, and then what would the errors be? So remember, a type 1 error is we side with the alternate. We reject the null, and we side with the alternate. Evidence suggests that the battery life is less than 7 when in fact it isn't. We suggest the true mean battery life is less than 7 when in fact they're not. We toss good batteries, wasting money. The consequence. And now this one, it said give the consequence of each. That was because I hadn't seen one where they didn't do that at this point. This is like a 10-year-old test. And it doesn't matter. Okay, so this one asks for the consequence. The College Board recently has not been. They do not prompt you for the consequence. You say, oh, they didn't ask me for it, so I don't have to write it. Wrong. Okay, type 2 error is the opposite. And when you write the type 2 error, what you want to do is just take your type 1 error that we wrote, and we're going to remember type 1 favors with the alternate. Type 1 favors the alternate. This one is the opposite. But don't go back up here and try to reanalyze this. Just take this one and flip the script to get the type 2 error. It's much faster. Much faster. I even have students when they just say, like, what type of error can you make and go type 2? They like to actually think, what is a type 1 error? That's when I say it's the alternate, but it's not. And then the other version is when I say it's not the alternate. So, but whatever, you do whatever will get you the right answer as fast as possible. So the other one is we say the batteries is not less than 7. We say the batteries are good when in fact they're bad. So we sell our customers crappy batteries, and then they stop buying our batteries. All right, now on this one, it doesn't say which one's worse. I probably did that in class, but it doesn't say it on this paper. And when we decide which one's worse, for credit on your hack grade in my class, not for the AP exam, the AP exam wants you to do the same thing. They want you to make the correct answer. But on my tests at Independence High School, and they say which one's worse, as long as you compare consequence to consequence that you stated in your problem, pick one and describe to me why that one's worse. We will take it. Okay? Even if you say something ridiculous like losing a couple bucks is worse than endless patients getting bad treatment for cancer. You're like, it's worse that the doctor loses money because then he'll charge more and everything will be horrible. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think I'd rather pay a little bit more and have it work. So that wouldn't make any sense. But if you compare consequence to consequence, and the correct structure will take it.